Ciao, this is Rel Jackson. I'm a brand ambassador for Magical Pose. Magical Pose is a clothing line for men, women, and most teens. You can find them on Instagram, Magical Pose, MAGICALPOSE. You can find them online at magicalpose.com, MAGICALPOSE.com. And you can even Google search Magical Pose Apparel and find their website that way. Now, due to COVID, you may experience some shipping delays from 7 to 14 days. Be advised, all orders will be shipped within 3 to 5 days after processing. Your first email is with the confirmation and receipt. Your second email is when it's shipped with tracking information. Free shipping on all orders, $150 or more. No promo code needed. Feel free and check out their catalog. They have things ranging from women's bodycon dresses, candy painted women's twist front tanks, zipper pouch, jackets, backpacks, crop top windbreakers, t-shirts, hoodies. And if you want a discount with the Magical Pose because you're with Rel Jackson, use discount code MPREL333. MPREL333. Thank you for shopping with Magical Pose. I hope you like what you get. Feel free, hit me back. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys later. Bye.
Hey, Rel.
Hey, baby. This is Rel. Welcome to the back of the classroom. Today, we're going to talk about being better than you were yesterday. So, it's important to not compare yourself. Don't compare others. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't compare yourself to your role models. Don't compare yourself to the person next to you. Don't compare yourself to people you see on Instagram or any other type of social media platform. For the simple fact that everyone's different. And although everyone can be in the same room you're in, doesn't mean you all guys have the same life. Let me explain. First, you don't and won't have enough insight to be right. Nobody tells you 100% of everything that they've done and everything that happened in their life. And even if they could, it'd be hard for them to capture the moment and the things that happened to them that made them make the decisions that they made. So we can go even further back. All babies aren't born the same. Can we agree to this? Can we agree on that? I believe so. Some babies were born in a hospital. Some babies were born in a pool, cab, car, in a house. Some people had a doctor. Some people had, I forget the term, like somebody who practices childbirth, and they're not a licensed doctor, but they help natural birth. And then you can go to the hospital and they make sure your baby's okay. So just because all babies can be born different, the way you was brought in the world was different. So let's say you isolated who you were to the way you were born. Cool. All parents aren't the same. So out of the small group of people that was born the way you were born, you got to find somebody who has a father like yours and a mother like yours, right? So that brings your pool of people you can compare yourself to down even smaller. Then we can talk about the environment, which is drastically different, can affect who you are. So now that you got that small group, now bring it into where you grew up. Where were you born? The hospital you was born in, the area you grew up in, right? So now remember, the more you add filters and you start sorting out the differences, then look at how many of you guys had the same teachers, mentors. So although you was in the same class, people don't mean they have all the parameters that we previously established, right? So how many of them had the same teachers you had? How many of them heard the same jokes that you heard? How many of them had the same guidance that you had? And believe it or not, nobody on social media is going to have your exact upbringing. Put it like this. You grew up in a house, if you have a sibling had the same mother and father. They didn't have the same school. But look how different you are from your siblings. You don't think the way they think. Y'all can have a back and forth on something. Now, you might be able to relate to them. You had the same upbringing, but y'all had a different point of view on it. The reason being is who you were as an individual was already set. Now, you can be molded by your outward things that you experience, and then you cultivate it. But after that, you're still an individual. You're still who you were meant to be. Your attitude is still your attitude. Your mannerisms, you might learn it as you go, but you still incorporate it to who you are and how you choose to express it outward. That's all 100% you and your personality. So based solely on the fact your introduction to the world is unique, and the circumstances that led you to the development of your brain and the way it processes your experiences make you even more unique. So you shouldn't compare. There is no reason in the world you shouldn't compare yourself to others, because you're kind of putting yourself in a lose-lose situation, because you'll look at somebody who has something that you might not and go, damn, they got something more than me. Why don't I have that? You don't live their life. Had you lived their life, you would be where they were at and you would have it. But unfortunately, you don't. And the best way to look at life is be better than who you were yesterday, because you'll never have all the information, like I said earlier, to be right about making a fair comparison. You don't know how they grew up. You don't know what their life was like when they was a kid. You don't know how they've learned what they learned to be where they were at. You have no idea what their struggles were before they got to that point. You might be catching them in the highlight of their best life, and the next 10 years is completely trash. Now, if you wanted to compare yourself to that, and because you don't know the future, you want to compare yourself to somebody you can't gauge properly, and then here you are feeling like, I wish I had what they had. And then turn the tables, 5, 10 years from now, they're in a worse situation than you are, and you'd be probably grateful that you aren't who they are. You're not where they were. And have you learned their struggles and what they've gone through, you might not want to be who they are. You might not feel like it's worth going through all the things they went through in order to be where they're at. We've all heard about the scandals in music industry and entertainment as a whole. You hear about these things that go on, and I'm almost sure most people would feel like they will never compromise themselves to get to where these people have gone. So even more reason why you wouldn't want to be somebody else. You should be comfortable being yourself, right? Your brain develops at who you are and personality between the ages of 1 and 7. Between 1 and 7, you're paying attention. You're watching how people walk. You paying attention how people talk. You paying attention to mannerisms, and the people you're closest to, based on the environment you in, it shapes that. Now, once you're past the age of 17, your experiences can vary drastically, because now you're making decisions for yourself that most people probably would, differ how they would choose to go about certain things. And not everybody does the same thing for the same reason. Let's say 5 people decide to go to college. All 5 of them could pick different majors, but they all still chose to go somewhere and do something. True, you might have the same belief, but the way you go about it, why you go about it, is all going to be different. One person can be a doctor. One person can be a lawyer. Another person can be just to go to sports and just want to, get that extra education so he could better himself and do business. Somebody might want to be a teacher. Somebody might want to be a police officer. All these different things you can find in a person who's going to college. But it doesn't mean that they're all the same. So you'll sit there and look at everybody and wonder how I'm not there. And we all have different purposes in life. We all have different things we want to do. We all see life differently. We all have different perspectives. which is why we can come to the back of the class and we can talk about it. And it's not that I want to compare who I am to you. I can learn from you. I know where I'm at in life and I know what I want to do, but you have a different experience in life than I do. You could bring something to me that I might not have never considered because I haven't lived your life. And instead of comparing, we should put ourselves in a state of mind where we just need to learn. We could better ourselves just by learning the different experiences people have had. Same thing with your teachers. They're teaching you a subject on something that's happened or something that's relevant to what you might need to learn as a foundation for where you're going to go in life, right? You think about math. Your math teacher taught you algebra and unknown variables, and the X, you can't account for it because it's the unknown. You could look at that like going to work, and the X is the unknown, which is the BS you got to go through in order to get to work. So if it takes you 30 minutes to get to work, do you leave your house 30 minutes before work, or you give yourself a little bit more time just in case something happens? That just in case something happens is your X variable. It's the unknown. So math plays a part in your life, but you needed a teacher or a mentor to help you understand how to figure out life by math. Math helps you with you going through life, but everybody understands math differently. Look at science. You got to combine this and add heat, cool this off, do this and do that. Anyone who cooks understands you got ingredients, you got to mix it together, you apply heat, you apply one before the other. If you ever tried to make a cheesecake, you understand you can't just throw all the ingredients in together like you're making pancakes. There's steps to it. And certain things have to happen first. If you want to make dough, there's steps to it. You got to do certain things in order to make it properly. So, history. Listen, sometimes they got to test your memory. They got to give you information, see how well you can retain it, learn from other people's mistakes. How do you process that information? Have you ever been told to sit in the corner and think about what you did? Have you ever been on punishment and been told to go in your room and they don't want to hear from you? You need to think about what you did, and when you come out and you finish thinking about it, you need to apologize for what you did, but they want to hear why you're apologizing, not just hearing sorry. That's all part of how your brain processes information. So although you went to school with the same people, some people went to school and got the same education, it doesn't mean you process that information the same. My brain, I know, works completely different than most. And in my attitude compiled with it, I understand I'm in a position that I'm in because of the decisions that I made. And I don't expect anybody else to be in the same position I'm in because I understand how different I am. And the coming together part where some people have habits, that's based on your environment, right? You've seen what works, what don't work, and you start to go in that direction. You got some parents who work 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours a week just to put food on the table. And then you got some parents who work on a weekend and they're allowed to spend more time with their children. You have different upbringings. You don't have enough insight on anyone's life to be right about how to compare yourself to them. You just have to accept that you're different. And if you want, take the time to get to learn that person. See what they've gone through. Let's stop thinking someone's better than us, and let's just look at it as we're all different. You look at, for example, trees in a forest. One tree don't look at another tree and discriminate on a tree. A tree, we're all trees. We all grow. We all take in carbon dioxide and we put out oxygen. That's what trees do. As humans, regardless of how similar we are, because we also have to appreciate the differences. But there's variables to it that just helps you understand how different we are and how much we can learn from one another. So don't want to be like somebody else. Want to learn from somebody else. Want to learn what they've gone through so you can appreciate your own upbringing. Or you can look at what they've gone through and find little building blocks and steps to improve yourself. That's what mentors are for. I see somebody who's productive and I want to do business. I want to focus on a person who's done business. I want to look at them, model what they've done, ask them about their downfalls and their uprising, and see what sacrifices I might have to make in order to get to where they are, right? Because they've laid the path. They have a blueprint. Everyone's had that from your parents. They taught you how to eat. They taught you how to sit. They taught you manners. They taught you how to conduct yourself out in the world, to be civilized. That's all part of your upbringing that the next person might not have had, right? Your parents might have taught you one thing and somebody else's parents taught them something different. But when you come to school and you can socialize and you can understand how different people are, when you went to school and you realize, hey, Ma, how come he can go to the park but I can't? Mother gonna tell you, I'm concerned about you, not them. That's his parents' responsibility. You're my responsibility. So you understood the differences, and you, even if you wanted to compare, it's because you wanted things that they had, but you have no idea they're the same people looking at you, wishing they had what you had. You know, some kids don't have 3 square meals a day. You might have. Some kids might not have a pillow on their bed. You might have. I grew up realizing some of the kids I went to school with was homeless, but I had no idea. At some point in their life during the school year, when I seen them every day, they were sleeping outside or they didn't go home that night. And while I'm over here figuring out, damn, I wish I could hang out like they could, I'm realizing they wish they can go home like I could. And it kind of makes it should humble you, because you have had advantages and you probably had some disadvantages, but you still had the advantages that could set you apart from somebody else. And instead of comparing yourself to going, dang, I wish I could have what they have, it's very easy to appreciate what you do have. And instead of focusing on what you don't have, appreciate what you do got. Look at where you were yesterday and improve yourself today. And you might be in a situation where you're better than where they're at the moment you was comparing them. You're comparing somebody on what they look like today. Look at social media. All that's the highlight reel. They don't show you their shortcomings. They don't show you their mistakes. They don't show you all the things that went wrong. You know how fun it is to watch a movie and you get to see the bloopers and you get to laugh at it and realize, yo, everything didn't happen in one take. Nobody's perfect. You know, I challenge everybody, show your bloopers, show your mistakes, show people you're not perfect. You make mistakes and everything can still be all right. Let's normalize learning from our mistakes so that we can improve on our own situations, because nobody's perfect. We could look at somebody and always want to say they got it good, but we don't know what they've gone through before that, and we definitely don't know what the price they have to pay after. So we should definitely stop with the comparison. It should be a dead issue. Let's look at our grandparents, our parents. Let's talk to them. Let's ask questions. Let's look at our friends. Let's have open conversations. So what was it like growing up? What did you learn? How did you get this? How did you get that? How did you figure this out? How did you figure that out? Think about when you was in school and you had a math problem. The teacher said, write out how you got your answer. Be able to articulate the steps it took you to get to where you're at. This way it translates into when you're with your friends or you out and about and you have to explain why you are where you are. And you might not have to explain it to anybody but yourself, because a lot of times we got to hold ourselves accountable. That's the only way we're going to get better tomorrow. Hey, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have did that. Or what can I do to better my situation? Like, how did I get here? Was it something I did 5 years ago? And it's been a domino effect. You know, I say if you tell one lie, you got to tell another lie after that to cover up the first lie. And before you know it, it's a domino effect of lies. What was the first lie you told that you could have just said, you know what, let me just be honest about it. I wanted to, or I wasn't thinking it all the way through. Sometimes if you follow that inner voice in your head where it tells you not to, don't do it. See how better life can be when you do the things you know is in your best interest. Now, I'm not saying don't take chances, because, you know, no risk, no reward. I get it. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself to know you can do something. But when it comes to you doing things that's beneficial to your situation and not something that's going to hinder you for temporary satisfaction, it might not be worth it. People out here taking penitentiary chances to put a plate of food on the table for tonight. So you're going to keep taking a chance that's going to keep you out the home for years just so you can put a plate of food on the table tonight. It's not worth it. It really ain't. You can find another way. We can do other things. We can improve our situation just by looking at where we are today, owning the accountability of what we have done, and understand where we want to be in the future. I personally think it's a balancing act. Whatever attention you pay to the past, you got to pay to the future. Balance it out and then look at where you're at today and then make better choices. And then you'll realize it becomes a habit. If I get up and I go to work and I get to work on time, I could do it on Monday. I'm gonna get up, I could do it on Tuesday. And before you know it, every day of the week you're getting up on time. And then you realize, wait, if I go to bed early enough, I'll have more energy. So now I'm going to bed a little bit earlier. And I'm going to bed a little bit earlier until I find a sweet spot where I wake up and I'm feeling refreshed. How many people wake up late for work? Why would you do that? Why cut it so close? What's so important that you have to be up so late that you're waking up right before you got to get ready and go to work? Well, give yourself some cushion. Give yourself enough time to wake up, relax, take a deep breath, exercise a little bit, have breakfast, clean up the house a little bit, straighten up, make up your bed, clean up, do things that's beneficial to you. Give yourself you time, right? If you drink coffee or tea, take some time to yourself, look at the weather, see what's going on, prepare for your day, and then enjoy the process of doing the things you know you have to do without having to rush. And when you make that a habit, and it's something you consistently do moving forward throughout life, you have simplified your life and you've made it better, where you're no longer waking up late, you're no longer waking up tired. You have enough time where if you're not feeling too good, you can drink some tea, take some medicine, get yourself together, and then get yourself to go to work. Now you're not grumpy, you're not having a bad attitude, you're more pleasant, all because you chose to change your current situation into a better situation. And a lot of times we don't take accountability for the things that we go through, and it's very easy to point the finger at somebody else instead of realizing you control your outcome. Somebody can always force you to do something, but at the end of the day, you're still making that choice to go along with it. You can fight the resistance. Sometimes you want to stay in bed all day, but you still get up. And that's you coaching yourself. You don't always have to make everybody else happy when at the end of the day, you got to make yourself happy. They got to make themselves happy. Now, you might be the reason they smile. They might be happy for you. They might be happy you're there to assist them and help them. But share this common knowledge. Okay, listen, there's some things you got to start doing for yourself. I don't mind being here to help. That might be the type of person you are. But you know how they say, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So your help might be a hindrance. So you look back at your situation and realize, am I hindering people by giving them the answers? Or can I be helpful in a different way and help them find the answers themselves? You turn around and realize, oh, wow, you're more helpful. You're more beneficial. You can help more people. And then your impact is a lot stronger because people can look at their success and realize you help them see something, help them take accountability for who they are and where they're at, and they can make better decisions moving forward. And if you're always feeding somebody, you always have to feed them. When you teach somebody how to do something, they can do it themselves and they can move on. And then you can find somebody else you can help. And now the way you're helping people is more impactful and it's more helpful and it's more beneficial to society. But if we don't take accountability for who we are, what we do, where we've been, how do we move forward? How do we get better? So take some time. Before I go to sleep, I think about my entire day and see what I did, what went wrong, how can I have done things better. And I tend to find that although people might not like my mannerisms or people might not like the way I come off at times, I'm still teaching. And it might not come off where it's agreeable to you. But if you stop and think about it and you realize, well, he didn't put me in harm's way. He just didn't let me be lazy. He didn't help me the way I wanted him to help, but he gave me the tools for me to help myself. And even at times when I make mistakes, I'll look at it and I'll revisit the situation and I'll bring that conversation up because I'm holding myself accountable. I'm not going to do something and then realize, okay, that was a mistake and I didn't do it with any malice. I didn't do it with ill intentions. I had the best interest at heart, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. So I'll stop and I'll think about it and then I'll come back the next day and I'll say something and I'll try to rectify the situation. All because people need that humility. No one wants to come off as perfect. I never want to come off as perfect. I need you and everybody else to know I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I have the best interest at heart for people. But again, because I don't know everybody's situation, I just give my perspective on things and hope that's enough to get somebody the wheels turning for something they might not have thought of. Because I can't tell anybody what to do. I can only tell them what I would do if I was in that situation, and I would explain it in that way. People say, oh, what would you do if this, and so I can't speak for everybody else. I can speak for myself. What I would do is, based on what you told me, is this, and this. And that's only because of my background and what I've learned, how I've come to see things, and my perspective on things. And we can all do that for one another, but first we got to do that for ourselves. Where you are in life is based on what you focused on. And if you don't continue to learn and grow and accept people for who they are, you might be miserable. And at times you want to fit in with people, so you start doing things that might not be who you are. Own that, be accepting of it, and then learn about what it is that you're doing that somebody else is doing so you can get better at it. I was the first person to start a podcast, but I seen its ability and what it do, and I watched enough podcasts to understand what you should bring to the table and how you should discuss things. And it's only going to get better. You start from the first episode to this one, and you realize I'm bringing a little bit more context, more subject, more meat and potatoes to the conversation, because I understand we all got different perspectives. And in order for us to grow as people, in my opinion, is we got to start taking accountability for our actions. And then we got to understand the choices other people make are their choices. We can always guide them, whether you're a parent, a friend, a mentor, or just somebody walking by seeing something that might not be right. Just because you have a love of your people, your surroundings, your community, it's okay to step in and say, hey, listen, brother, sister, ma'am, sir, this might not be this or this might not be that. And I feel this. And it's like, have a humble conversation. No one can tell anybody what to do. It really is an ask. Because if you tell somebody what to do, it's expected. They're just supposed to get up and do it. And last I heard, slavery's over. So I don't have to do anything somebody tells me to do. You can ask me and you can get my compliance with it. And even with dealing with the law, initially they ask, can you do this? Can you do that? Now, when you start resisting, then they start using their authority. Well, now I'm commanding you to do this, and this, and so on and so forth. So the less resistant you are, provided the situation isn't dangerous or detrimental to your health, well-being, and safety, see what the situation is. Because even with dealing with certain people, like, let's be 100% clear. Certain things will happen. Historically proves it's going to go down a specific way, regardless of how much you talk or how much you think you can outbest someone. So, all right, look, you understand the potential of where things can go, so you make things easier for yourself. Be more productive and more cautious of the things that you do, so your outcome can be what you want it to be. Laziness ain't gonna get it. Taking accountability well. Learning from your experiences, learning from other people's experiences. Not comparing yourself to others, because you're gonna be somewhere so far gone from reality, because you know all the things you've gone through in life. You don't know what they've gone through. So why put yourself through that type of stress when you can go, if I need to exercise, I'm gonna do 1 push-up today. It was a struggle. Tomorrow I'm gonna get 2. And then the day after that, I'm going to do 3. You're incrementally doing something better, and you're improving, and you're adding. When working out, it is a terminology called progressive overload, where you keep adding to it. You keep building and building and building, and you keep doing that, not just your body, but you do that for your brain. You do that for your overall life, and you can apply that to everything. Education, fitness, health. Keep doing things that better yourself. Eat more vegetables. Eat more, take in more vitamins and minerals. Drink more water. All these things that are beneficial to you. Start phasing out the things that's not good. If you want to snack on something, they're very small. Eat smaller portions. Incrementally. Let it start with breakfast, or let it start with lunch, or let it start with dinner. And then before you know it, you'll feel better about yourself. And not because you're so focused on everybody else, it's because you're focused on yourself. Love yourself. Love who you are and love who you can be. Focus on you being better for yourself. And see what the potential brings. See how good you feel about yourself when you do that. So that's the challenge. 2 parts. 1, don't be afraid to show your bloopers. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We don't have to come off as we're perfect. 2, love yourself enough to put yourself in a mind state where you want to improve yourself and not want to be like others. It's okay to see the success in other things and want to learn those things, but you're doing it for yourself. You want to be like somebody else. You're not going to get married to the same person they get married to. You're not going to have kids the way they had kids. Like, there's so many differences. Why put yourself in that situation, right? Just focus on yourself. You do something wrong, apologize for it. Come back and apologize. Humble enough to go, listen, I made a mistake the other day and I didn't realize this, and this, and just own it. That type of communication goes a long way than always coming off right. Just being able to articulate, look, I was wrong about that the other day. My bad. I didn't really see it the way you were saying it, but I had time to stop and think about it. Then people understand I was listening to you. I understand what you said. And even though maybe in the moment I didn't follow you the way you wanted me to, I got it. I get it. So thank you if you made it this far on the podcast.